Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order the Osage Minerals Council regular meeting Friday, January 3rd, 2020. I'd like to ask my councilman ready to give us an opening prayer. Please rise. Yeah.
Thank you, Father, for this beautiful day that you have granted us, that you bestow us upon us, Father, so graciously. I ask you to bless all those that are here today, all the visitors, Father, bless our council, Father, bless our minds, bless all the districts that are in mourning this hour, Father. bless their hearts, because their hearts are broken, Father. Give them strength, days and hours and days to come, Father. Give us the insight and the proper things we have to do, Father, for the sake of our mineral council, and our people, Father, our shareholders, all that are involved, Father. Thank you for this good day that you brought forth to us, Father. That's all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. We'd like to say at the beginning of this new year that last year was an effort brought to this council. I'd like to congratulate them in many areas. Some are publicly known, some are, I know what work you do behind the scenes. I appreciate that. With that being said, there'll be a couple of efforts in which we go into today. I want to respond to some of the emails we've received over the issues of terror. I have comments that we have sent in that we're going to apply to the answer to these letters. And what it states is the issues in which faces the Osage Minerals Council, but also what is the nation's position in these efforts. That will have to be taken to them. The next comes up is that we're looking at NL. As you well know, we start right at them in the next 2 days. That is going to be one of the issues that highlights is that the Osage has stayed with this long enough that we're going to be taking care of the last bit of the protection of our sovereignty. We are allowed to permitting the other efforts of regulatory items in which they don't have any respect for us, and we're going to earn it again. And that's the way Osages are made. With that being said, I'd like to go on into another issue is that these laws in which we're going to go to the Secretary of Interior, everything that we have is an obligation that follows and protects the 1906 Act. That is what we're here for. Us representing a different constituency than maybe even the nation allows us that freedom to stay direct with that. And in comments, I know there's a lot of questions whether the CFR, are we going to give something up? We are not going to give anything up. The comments will show that. The next effort I have is that we're going to meet with OST. Last year we ran into an event that has never happened to a council. I should know, I come off the tribal, I come off the national, never. And I want to commend everyone here that behind the scenes you worked on the federal entities to get this payment out. I didn't want to go into that publicly because so many people have had problems with their new system, but we're going to make sure that that is followed, inventoried, and we'll make sure that everything is correct on their accounts. OST has a big job to do, and we're going to hold them to that. The next question is that we have another issue, and even in the L case, is going to be the protection of our reservation. Our nation, Osage Nation, is going to go into a huge fight with the state of Oklahoma. It's going to be one that we're going to really see some things. But the sovereignty of the nation is the head right owners and our membership. That is a sovereignty that will help in that case. And secondly, I don't believe the state should do this. I was with the Sleta tribe as a national councilman when they ran into the same problem. The New Mexico made a compact with them for a certain percentage and immediately went to 25%. And they fought it. Also, we have a champion here in Oklahoma, Quapaw Nation. They'll teach you how to deal with them, and that's not dealing with them. The next item is that I want to clarify a couple items for us. We're going to look at the DEIS solution. There's nothing good that can come here where we have had our drilling stopped. The national average in the state of Oklahoma is 27%. We're down 47%. And if we hadn't had the ability to add the CO2 function in, then we would have been desperate. The next item is that we're gonna have to fix that at all costs. The last effort on it is that it not only goes into DEIS, but we're having to protect our own reservation from the new people who want to take that away from us. Let's just get right down to it. And we represent the group that is ownership. No other law, no other status is here like we have. And we need to go ahead and enforce that issue, and we will in this federal court item within now. And that's also going to believe, and I want to comment, is we are not against renewable energy. But you have to come in the Osage, just like our oil producers and everyone else, you got to permit this. And whether it's through the nation or contractors, we're going to hold you to that. The last item is that how are they giving a dollar amount on our history? How are they allowed to misrepresent themselves as we don't have these rights? And I deal with this a lot, is that just because you don't know the Osage tells me a lot about you. Now, these capital credits that they're getting into the billions in the state of Oklahoma, we need to look at that. From now on, if we have any kind of effort like that, that should be brought to us. And that, with saying that, that's why we're going to look at contracts. We're having one issue, and that's procurement, especially in some of our bigger items and plugging. And I want to make sure I say this is 2020. We are not just here for the oil, we are here for our environment. All of us, I can look through this room, we all live here. And we understand environment. So we are going with this plugging to go in. It's got a little sticker shock to it, but we knew that. And with that being said, we have to stay focused on that because we have 1,600 of them. And the question is where's the federal government's obligation end and where does ours start? They have it backwards. The Osages is the reason they have a job, is the reason that we need to compel our federal agencies to fund this. Not only for this group here, but for our children. We're not going to be able to get through all of that. In closing, I have a couple of remarks of housekeeping on our agenda that I've asked a couple of the council that after executive, if there's something that's necessary, then we will add it to our agenda at that time. With that being said, I'd like to have a roll call.
Councilwoman Foreman.
Present.
Councilwoman Gray. Here. Councilwoman Harlan. Here. Councilman Redcorn.
Here.
Councilman Red Eagle.
Here.
Councilman Rebar.
Present.
Chairman Waller.
Present.
Secretary Yates.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go into new business. I'd like to have the Osage Nation Environmental Solutions. See, we have our folks here. Please make yourself at home. Sister, it's good to see you. Strength is in numbers. Thank you. And you and I were together before we got here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman Waller. Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'd like to first let y'all know that we appreciate the time on the agenda and on this particular subject matter for the Woods organization. We have handed out to you a packet that includes primarily 4 things. You'll see again, a copy of the capability statement of the Woods organization. You'll also here now see again, a statement, an announcement of the BIA of the EIS process, which I'm sure you've seen, if you or not. And then the third way into the packet, you'll see the approach, the element that 1C would be required, and we would begin in collaboration with the Mayor Council and your leadership in addressing the situation at hand. And fourth is an example of some of the topics and items that we would anticipate that would come up in the due process of approaching this record of decision is the ultimate goal of the BIA. These comments are basically in the agenda. If you care to go into executive session, we can, but I think we could probably tailor our comments accordingly if you want to leave it in the public meeting.
I think we should leave it here to field some questions, and then, of course, we know what goes into executive, is personnel, items, and also contractual.
I just have, is anything that you'll be telling us that will be proprietary to your company, or that you hold, like, this is, I mean, that would be the only thing I would say, but if you're comfortable with saying it in public.
Sure.
Yes.
I don't believe there's any reason to go into executive session. If we start talking about strategy, then maybe that's would be an opportunity to go into executive session. But otherwise, I think it's open comment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, very good.
Councilman.
Thank you, Chairman. Last meeting, ones came and discussed their skills, and I'm noted at that time we have 3 Osage people that are involved in that were listed to us that day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, that's true.
Other key capabilities is ones has developed local, environmental, and cultural resource knowledge. And I feel like that this discussion going on with environmental, that's my personal feeling on that is, I think we're missing the cultural piece. We're missing the local piece in the discussion. Last meeting, Councilwoman Harlan made a motion that I go out and find a contractor to help with the EIS and comments. So I took that directive very serious and went home and pondered a little bit. And my thoughts were the people that came into the room that 2 days previous were probably the best cultural consultants to provide comment to the EIS. So I went and had a discussion, contacted the chairman first, approval to go ahead and approach ones, and had a meeting between Christmas and New Year's, or was it before?
There's a lot going on.
Told this group organization my intentions were I need to find a consultant to help our legal to respond to the EIS comment. And this has to happen very, very, very quickly because it was given a deadline of January 22nd. So this organization once agreed. I was really pleased that I think everybody around that table were a member of the Osage Nation. And I was very pleased to know that everybody around the table felt strongly about how this federal activity is playing out on our people, on our resources, without, and my feeling is, not very much feedback from us. So with that, I would like to propose a motion that we direct ones to work with our legal counsel and help provide public comment before the deadline of January 22nd, 2020.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Ray Cord, second by Councilman Harvey, Councilman Reed.
And thanks, Chair. We haven't talked about, in what fees might be involved. I know that Fred Store offered to do it for $2,000 to provide a comment.
That's public record, yes.
They were opposed to signing the contract because I guess we wanted them to accept some liability, and they weren't willing to accept liability, so they wouldn't sign the contract. But so we've got one qualified consultant that I think they represent the Osage Producers Association. But they've offered to perform this function for $2,000. I'm just wondering what being offered these services, what kind of financial obligation are we talking about undertaking?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, first I'd like to say that our capability statement lists the individuals that will be involved, and they still are involved. And then in follow-up to Councilman Redcorn's comment on our populace at the meeting, in our organization, we have numerous, let's say, citizens. We also have numerous shareholders. So the gravity of the question is well appreciated. I'd also like to bring on to the podium a colleague, Mr. Paul Yates, who is our consultants that will be involved in the programming process to share the rest of Mr. Revard's concern on value. I'd like to turn it over to Paul and let him comment.
Yes, brother.
Margo, did you have a question for Eddie?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a comment to, I know that you all have worked with other sovereign nations here, even in the area. Did you have any conflict of signing unlimited liability when you perform those services?
No, we did not.
That's answered my question, so, yeah, please go ahead.
Councilman Reward, did that answer your question?
No, I was wondering at what expense would we anticipate if y'all participated in preparing our contract?
It would not go over $20,000 from what we're looking at right now. And we have a schedule of fees for all the professionals on our staff. And I'm a senior advisor. I would be involved. I wouldn't be doing a lot of the heavy lifting. I'd be facilitating discussions between our staff, the stakeholders, particularly the Minerals Council and Wilson Pipestein's law firm. But that could be less. You know, we had a short time frame to work on, so we put together our staff and professionals with their daily rates, hourly rates, and tried to determine what's the top. So that would be the top. But in discussions with the Minerals Council and Wilson's law firm, we'll come up with a definite number. Right now, we're just looking at getting into discussions, and we really anticipate providing technical advice on the review of the draft EIS. Cursory review, I think I see some problems with some of the facts that they're using. They're using information from other geological provinces, not Osage County. So there are some problems, in fact, problems that need to be addressed.
Councilman Redcorn.
Just a quick comment on the council made a motion and passed last meeting to end the discussion with Mr. Stoll.
Councilwoman.
Well, I have maybe more than one question, but we have less than 3 weeks to get a comment out unless the comment period is extended. We had instructed our council to request an extension. I have not seen that letter yet, but during the public hearing, he did request an extension. I requested an extension in several.
That's correct, ma'am. You did, not the council yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
But that's done
As
above
an
here.
individual
See,
shareholder.
It's a council.
Yes, requested an extension. But if it's not extended, my first question is, do you feel like you have time to put together an adequate and proper comment? Because there is a multitude of problems with this 566-page document. Has your organization, so the second question would be, has your organization already read this? And the third question would be, has our council shared with you the information that Fred Storer has already provided him?
No.
3 questions.
Thank you.
Let me take them in the order that I can remember.
Okay.
I'm 3/4 of the way through this. I got bogged down in the environmental effects and in the alternatives. I see some problems that I think Wilson could probably address better than myself. Alternative 4 to me doesn't seem legal. It seems like it has a lot of issues. The rest of the team that we have assembled is reading the document right now. We're partnering with Reagan Smith. They have a environmental attorney. They have an engineer who's also an attorney. And on our staff, we have myself, who's an environmental engineer and has worked with NEPA for several years. We have Ray Clark, who was on the Council of Environmental Quality at one time. He's like the Assistant Secretary for the Army. He's held high positions. We have people that work with the White House and in central office on legal policy. That's what we're talking about here, is a policy document. So we are ready to provide the high-quality technical analysis before the deadline date. Hopefully we'll get an extension. To me, it seems strategic that they released this on November 22nd, right before the holidays. That tells me that they may have a hidden agenda. Was there another question?
Yeah, there are two more questions.
Okay.
First, with the time frame, you've answered that. You feel like you can do it with the experts that you have access to.
Right.
The second one, oh gosh, let's see. The second one was, okay, I'm just losing my train of thought here, but it wasn't about the expense, but I have another question, and I'll go ahead and interject here while I'm trying to remember the others. You mentioned a lot of professionals and partnering with an outside firm. Are all those expenses included in the $20,000 you
Correct.
just told us?
Correct.
Okay.
And I throw that 20,000 out as the high number.
Up to.
Because we realize that we're on a short time period. We may not reach those hours. But I just don't want any surprises moving forward.
Okay. And I'd also asked you if you'd read through the entire document, or anyone with your organization has read through the entire 566-page document. And the third question was, have you received the information that Fred Storer, he already worked volumes on this and provided it to our council. Has he shared that with you?
No and no.
Okay.
I've read about 3/4 of it. It's very tedious. And I have glanced at the entire document. That's what I do. I glance through the entire document, then I go back and start reading. But it is a difficult read. There's a lot of weeds in this thing. And given the fact that it seemed like a strategic release of the draft, I think there could be something in those weeds. So we're reading it very carefully.
Thank you.
No, I would love to see Fred Storer's comments. Again, that search a couple days ago, I hope you get a copy of that today. I don't think that, I mean, our interests could be very much parallel,
Yes, sir.
but they could converge at certain points. But I know he's done a good search. Looking at it, I see some problems with their facts. I think Fred may have identified those same problems. So that would be one way to approach this, is the mistakes they've made in their analysis.
Thank you.
Exactly. Councilwoman Harlan first.
I kind of agree with Councilman Redcorn. We were missing the cultural component. I like that we're using our tribe's services as opposed to the producer services. I appreciate the fact that you've assembled the team of professionals that you have. I just asked council just a second ago if, he was in agreement. He says that he is. We have a motion on the floor, and I'll call for the question.
Councilwoman.
Lastly, I know that in discussion with some of our other council members, that what Fred Storer has done before, it was commissioned by you all. He's provided it. I'm sure our office, Lacey, I'm looking at you, that we will have a copy with that copy that we've already paid for. And then with his additional comments, hopefully we can get those to you.
If I may,
Yes,
that was
please.
done in March of 16, where I gave the speech out there at the effort when they first rolled out DEIS and he was under contract. I will need that pulled back up, not only insisting these folks, but we'll send it to Mr. Pipes. And it has exactly these items in it. Council, is there any other questions? And can I entertain a question from the audience?
Prefer
Yes.
not, we don't normally.
I don't have a problem.
Excuse me. That says no right there.
Well,
Okay.
that's too bad, because I'm an Osage militant, and I should be able to ask questions in here, especially since it considers, or you all are even addressing the condemnation of our minerals estate from the CIS.
Yes, we are. We're get ready to get out of some of the strategy in which my expertise will bring us. because I am the former BIA field supervisor. I'd signed off on so many plugins, I hate to admit. And also I did the environmental reviews over millions and millions of acres on behalf of this nation when I was employed by them. I feel like this cultural issue is what we were lacking in now. We are now there where I think we are fit to try our best. That Washcon's the very best. With that being said, is there any other things that you would like to add? I have a motion on the floor.
No, only that we plan on doing our work to support Wilson Potsdam in his effort to represent this minerals council and the Osage tribe.
And I actually read over this very quickly. Your last paragraph says exactly that. And our council will be able to review your document and sign it on our behalf to assist you in that. I just read it. Is everyone fine with that? I am.
You bet.
Councilman.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman.
Excuse me. Council.
Yeah, thank you. You know, last time this came out, when it was only 322 pages, it ended up in the federal court in front of Judge Griselle. Since then, they just added another 240 pages to it, rolled it back out again. I anticipate with a high percentage chance that this thing's gonna be going back to court. I doubt that there's been much change of improvement from our perspective. So I would just like for you all to keep that in mind when you write your comments, especially if you're gonna coordinate with our legal counsel, that these comments may end up as an exhibit in a federal court case. So I think that'd just be important to keep in mind. That's all I have to say.
Appreciate that, council member, and we have talked internally.
Yes, dear.
Prepare for litigation, be careful what you put in an email, any kind of communication, and so we're proceeding in that environment.
That's exactly the way we need to start handling this effort here. The council is right, but also every other group that we're going to be facing over our sovereignty is going to use this against us. I'm just going to come out on a limb and tell you the alternate one, we can't do. That's how come this LET group has got us in court 11 times. The actual court case was over the CFRs. And, but your comments would hold true to this also, because I happened to have been there when you had to testify. The next item I have is that the alternate 2 is the only mechanism I see that we could possibly use. I have to come out in public and say 3 and 4, you'll have to meet us in court.
Absolutely.
And council, I kind of overstepped my bounds, but I know that you can take care of it. I have to sit here and say what I think. I understand what they think, but I draw the headrod. I'm a restricted landowner. I've got quite a few at the house, and they voted me in here. So with that being said, is there any comment that you need to add before we call for the question?
No, sir, that's it. Eddie?
Please. Call for the question, dear.
Councilwoman Foreman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harlan,
Yes.
Councilman Redcorn,
Yes.
Councilman Red Eagle,
Abstain.
Councilman Revard,
Yes.
Chairman Waller,
Yes.
Secretary Yates.
Abstain?
Motion passes.
Yes, Councilwoman.
I'm gonna have to abstain.
Motion still passes.
It still passes. With that, under the quorum, we'll have to be a little cognitive of that.
Right.
And I'll just go ahead and tell you, I'm related to everybody. But this position, I've got to support what I think. And now, is your question to do with exactly over the DEIS comments, ladies? Is it over the comment period for this?
Yes, it is.
Then stand up and give me 20 seconds, please. And do you two want to go together or at once?
No, I'm just concerned. My name is Stephanie Irwin.
Thank you.
And I'm concerned, when I read the EIS, what was sent out, the 4 options, and it's scary that they can come in here and condemn a third to half of our property. That's our property. That means money to us. And I just wanted to know if those issues will be addressed either by Mr. Yates or you will address it by an attorney.
We will have attorneys available. Also, some of the comments now that the vote passed, some of the people you're recognizing were under employment under my council. So I have great faith in them. And with that being said, Ms. Heskett.
Yes, I'm Linda Heskett, and what I wanted to ask was, you know, you were supposed to be representing us and for the good that will do us as shareholders. And if a shareholder has a question, they should be able to ask it, and you should be able to
Robert's
answer it.
Rules of Order, ma'am, let me give you a little hint here. When we have a motion on the floor, it has to be waited until this council is finished with that question. Secondly, is that I have to hear from them first, because they're the ones that I'm going to have the vote. I understand your comment on not being allowed, but also, you gotta kind of meet us halfway with that. This issue, we understand it, we've been dealing with it now I have for 5 years. And I know what I'm doing. And I would like you to comment to this. I read your email. It's exceptional. But at the end, you're asking me things that this council can't answer, only the nation can answer. And with that being said, is there any other comments you
Are
didn't
you
finish?
trying to get lockstep with the nation?
I'm trying to be lockstep in the rules of the order of the Osage Minerals Council.
Oh, yeah.
I don't work for those guys. Remember, I had to give my job up.
I'm well aware of the rules.
So I know
There are
about
some parts of the point
sacrifice.
that you need to talk to the shareholder exactly where you're taking this mineral estate.
I know exactly where we're going, and
Yeah,
it's still
I think I
everything.
do too. I think I do too.
I'm-
We'll talk later.
Yes, we will, but with that being said, I'm gonna have a little announcement to make. The condescending remarks, I understand, but I've been in political arenas. If it's not an answer or the solution, I'm gonna have to bypass a lot of this, because I cannot handle it through these 18,000 emails I've got. And with that, I'm gonna turn to my council, my Congress, my executive, and my people to take care of this. You don't win 4 of these seats without being right. And with that being said, I'm a little tired of the condescending emails I've been getting. Yes, I understand that, but none of you have been in the federal court like I have on behalf of the nation. I've won every federal case we tried, and I don't plan on losing. But I do tell you this, NL can't wait for this separation of our people. NL just watches this every day wondering, well, if they can't keep this quiet, then how are they gonna deal with us? This united front is going to be here, or I'll have to close the doors and go into executive. I do not have time to falter and keep chasing my tail. I am the one that come out of your mineral estate branch of minerals. I know this estate maybe better than anyone else.
What happened to transparency in your bidding for?
This is as transparent as you get. You're on film. Oh yeah, we kept the record of that. We'd like to know what's being said to us in a public meeting.
Yes, okay, I'm all for that,
Thank you, dear. With that,
and I'm not done.
again, let's just go on with the agenda. Thank you very much for your comments, but that is why I don't allow it. I just thought I'd go ahead and let you all see what I deal with every day. I don't want to even send out these emails that I get where you allow people to attack us. And you're part of it. We're gonna have to stop. I'm getting ready to get into a heck of a battle, and you haven't heard the best part in the executive. Thank you, gentlemen. I am so sorry. I apologize for any effort that might seem short, but I know that you can take care of it. Council, is there anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, it would seem to me that there are 2 people in this council chambers that are disrespecting the Minerals Council. I'd ask that they be excused and dismissed from this room.
Oh, really?
They can watch it on video and listen on video,
Which is available to everyone.
or they can be quiet.
I won't
You want to address that to
Thank
me?
Thank you. Councilwoman,
I was just gonna say that's not necessary. Let's just move on with our meeting.
I'm gonna move on to agenda.
Thank you, Council.
No, we thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. All right. Folks, we need to slow some of this down.
Let's take a break.
No? We need an update from Mr. Pipestein on DEIS.
Thank you, council. Just want to say how pleased I am that the council's decided to hire Wands as a consultant on this. We definitely need the technical support. And I'm really thankful to have them as a team member on this EIS. There's a lot of work to be done. And so we are working, we've been waiting on that help. I appreciate the interest of Minerals Council doing this. As I mentioned, I'm glad to subcontract with my law firm with them to quickly get this agreement done, if you would like for me to. I understand, Mr. Councilman Redcorn, is there anything you want me to say about that?
If you feel, if that's okay, I sent you the email, sent Lacey the email.
Yes, sir.
We checked with procurement, they are okay with ones subcontracting through our legal counsel's contract.
May I interject something at this point which will help the whole council, and it's over procurement. I was called by the treasurer yesterday, and you saw the email he sent of what wasn't right when we're trying to do an emergency plugging. Just everyone use the term emergency plugging. That waives certain rights and which allows us this effort which we're looking at even on this side. But we also need to look at it when we do the contracting of the plugging, because that's what they're questioning the hardest. It didn't flow right to them. But as you well know, those are my nephews out there working those rigs. They need that check. I can just tell you is that I know it's a little sticker shock, but that helps a lot of our people. And also I want to go right back to, we are environmentalists taking care of our Mother Earth, this last home we have, by helping with the plugging of these emergency wells. Go ahead.
And so, as I mentioned at the public meeting, the 1906 Act, I think, prohibits some of the things that they're proposing in the alternatives 3 and 4. I mean, this Osage reservation, we purchased it with our own money. It was made into a reservation after we purchased it. After that time, the 1906 Act, they promised and guaranteed by law that this mineral estate would be held in trust, and that amendments to the 1906 Act make clear about a primary use of this mineral estate. Unlike any tribe in America, Congress directed the Secretary and the Tribal Council, you will lease out this land for oil and gas exploration, required by the federal government. It also mentions that it's a high purpose of this land to be leased out for minerals development. So I think we have legal arguments that I think are, I believe should overcome any suggestion that we don't have areas open to minerals exploration. The mineral estate is the dominant estate to the surface estate. I know some surface landowners don't like to hear that, but that's just been the case for over a century. And so I think we have legal arguments to go with the technical arguments about, you know, the ins and outs of water and those sort of things. That's where we need expertise. And I'm so thankful to the council today that you've moved so quickly to get a new team member on board. I appreciate it. So with regard to, we have set up already a 4:30 call with them to make sure we map out the pathway forward. So I'm assuming everybody on their team can meet on at 4:30, but if not, you know, we'll have to set it for a different time, but we're moving as quickly as we can. So I think we're off and running. Now the deadline, we formally requested an extension through the meeting in Pawhuska here on December, whatever that was, 14th. We have followed up with the department to say you need to give us an answer on whether or not you're granting the extension or not, because we need to know what the answer is, because we're going to try to work to that January 22nd deadline. We need to know an answer. If you're going to extend it, that gives us more time to to know how to respond. So I think that's our update. We just have a lot of work to do.
Council? Councilwoman Foreman? Then Council.
Well, first of all, we have asked that a written letter be sent to the proper people to request a deadline. I don't feel real comfortable about just asking for it in a public hearing. So I still would like to see that letter go out.
Okay, and I'm glad to do that as long as it's just the Minerals Council directing me, because what I've been told is we can't just have one member of the Minerals Council direct our work as attorneys.
Well, nobody's asking. I mean, we can do a motion. Well, I think we already made a motion to do
We
that.
did, we've already done that.
We've already made a
And
motion
we're
to
waiting
have
on
our
him to write
attorney,
that.
have our attorney write a letter extend. It's a very simple thing. I'm not sure why there's a holdup on it. And so the council, as far as I remember, has already requested that. I'm not
Okay.
requesting it just
If the council has said, I checked with Chairman Waller about that, he did not think there was a request by the full council to do that.
Oh, well,
No,
then.
wait just a second. I know it wasn't in the resolution.
I know.
We had talked about that. I know it needs a resolution to ask for the council to extend it. Because I didn't do it. I didn't sign it.
Well, I would like to make a resolution then.
Excuse me. Anything else? Can you go ahead?
My question was whether or not he ever had written a letter, because I recall our council instructing him to do so at one of our meetings. I don't know if it's the last meeting or the one before.
You know what, I believe that we asked him to enter into, be the counsel for this. And then supposed to be, at the time, work with Fred Storr. I believe we asked it, but specifically for us to write the extension. I know it was in discussion, but we were still trying to work out Fred Storr's deal, and then that got, so I think we're at a point where we should, make a motion to,
Have it
have
available.
the extension.
Councilwoman, go ahead, right ahead with
And
your
I
motion.
so move that we.
Second.
No,
Well, finish saying
repeat
it.
it.
Well, I so move that the council approve for our attorney to write a letter to requesting to the Muskogee office, to Mr. Mosby or,
Something like
well,
that.
you've got the address and you've got the
Mosby.
name. Request a letter extending the comment period officially from the Minerals Council, because we're the main body to do this.
I would,
Second.
I just request we don't have a name, because the person who ultimately makes the decision, name is Liz Apple in DC.
Okay, well,
So,
That's-
proper authority,
Just request the extension
yeah,
for the
comment period.
yes.
And I understand a lot of this, but also on the federal level, we need to be a little under the radar when we request things, because we have a CFR code that allows us other entities, these directly government officials can't give to other tribes. So we need to really start being confident on what we're requesting, but as an extension.
Yeah. It's
We'll have a second on the floor, call for the
Second.
question.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harlan,
Yes.
Councilman Redcorn,
Yes.
Councilman Red Eagle,
Yes.
Councilman Rebar,
Yes.
Chairman Waller,
Yes.
Second Chair Yates,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foreman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we're, yes, go right ahead.
Well, back to the, this draft EIS and the comment that you're going to be performing. I know that Fred has pointed out in the past, and he pointed out again with this new one, that the National Environmental Policy Act is, or NEPA, is not a rulemaking law. Yet they have included 30 conditions of approval for permitting in the EIS. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what we're looking at. They've got all kinds of rules and regulations that I want to make absolutely sure, which I have confidence you and ones will do, at all the different things in here that are just out of whack with what NEPA is, and out of whack with our 1906 Act. And I look forward to hearing regular updates from you for the council to review, to make sure we're on board with what you're doing.
Glad
That's
to do
just a
that.
comment,
Glad
not
to,
anything.
and, no, I appreciate that, and I actually talked to Fred about that, and so we're certainly considering that in the remarks we're preparing.
Good.
And we don't need to forget Dr. Hall and Dr. Howard.
Yes.
And they are involved. They
You
are
have two of the top scientists in America to help us with this endeavor. Are you finished, ma'am?
Yes.
Council?
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment. I like our council's comments on the 1906 and how he feels that this is an impact against that. The law is pretty strong. We've seen our council in action. We've benefited greatly with that decision-making process. Also, we have a gentleman here, many years in BIA, set up on the highest seat. You can only go higher a couple of places, I guess. But saying that he's uncomfortable with some of the elements that they're pushing through on the, so I think we've got a really good team to address those elements that I think Fred Storr doesn't understand any of this. But I do agree, he's a great consultant, and I think we're gonna get the benefit of his comments anyway. Really, I feel we're missing the element of what makes us move as an Osage people, and that's our people, the 1906 Act, and then the how we put together our new government and all that. We need to have that element looked at, communicated with the powers that be, and I think this is a good move. So that's why I'm proud to bring that as a motion. Thank you, Chairman.
Councilman Rivard, Councilman Reddy.
Thank you, Chairman. Council, one thing, I think when you, in coordination with ones, are preparing these comments, in addition to pointing out how some of these regulations might affect our royalty income to our shareholders, but I think that in addition to the monetary, just from the royalty position, the lack of drilling or the condemnation of certain areas that would restrict drilling, not only will reduce the royalty, but it also actually hit to some of our shareholders' homes. I mean, some of these people are employed by different oil field service companies or restaurants that provide meals for the workers. So it's the communities in the people are also affected. Even if they don't directly work for an oil company, they may have a service, like I said, a restaurant, for instance. So it's not just the royalty income that's at stake here. It's really livelihoods of our head right owners.
Council?
Yes, sir. Chairman,
Abby, can you go?
Councilors, when you ask for extension, I know there's not a whole lot of time between now and 22nd. Who would make that decision to grant an extension?
Well, we asked again this morning, and there's a woman that's the head of what's the name of the office? Elizabeth Baffle, RAAR, regulatory and something.
Compliance,
RACA.
regulatory compliance.
Yeah, regulatory compliance, yeah,
I know it well.
Through
So-
collaborative affairs.
in collaborative affairs. So that is the person we've been told that in DC makes the actual decision. So we have engaged her and said, you need to let us know an answer. I mean, if we have to, even if they don't grant the extension, we need to have an answer so we can know whether that impacts our schedule for getting the work done. But we made the point that not only the Minerals Council, not only individual head right holders, but producers have made this request. And so we will write a letter today in accordance with the resolution and send that to her to make sure that she knows this is a Minerals Council request. And hopefully that will have a significant impact. But, you know, we did make it clear on the record with the court reporter there. I understand you're more comfortable with a letter from us, so we'll do that today. And, yeah, but I think most importantly, I just need to give us an answer. My guess is our new team members from Lunds would love to have more time. I would like to have more time, but the law part of it, got a pretty good idea what we're gonna say, right? And I've said so here. And the impact on, this is our homeland, we have federal law that supports our position on availability for lands for exploration, and I think that's, lots of times dealing with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and other Department of Interior offices, they are not the way, they're used to dealing with Indian tribes, they're not used to the 1906 Act. And so we have to emphasize that system that we have here that's unique, and then particularly amendments, because if you spoke through reading the 1906 Act, which is written like it's, reads like it's written in 1906, the amendments, there's a lot in the amendments. There's a whole lot in the amendments, and if we've shown here today, there's a lot of amendments. There's a lot of law in those amendments. So we think in those amendments and the base 1906 Act, there is protections for the Osage tribe and the Osage head right holders that are unique to us.
And only us. There is no one else out there that can ask what we're gonna ask. Council, are we done? I'm gonna go to this side. Councilwoman.
Okay, I just want to kind of hopefully we wrap this part up of it. 100 years ago, as we enter into the 1920s, it's 100 years of a different impact of how our land is being attempted to be stolen. And now it's, just as Ms. Irwin had said, they're looking at a quarter of or more of our reservation. Not even 100 years ago would we thought that we would have an Osage attorney. A company, an environmental company that was, owned by the Osage Nation, that there's 3 shareholders on it. And, then my colleague to my left here, she was talking about how important it is to have, the cultural impact. No one will understand it but us. And I hope that a lot of that will be inserted into that. How important is this? It's so vital to the future. We know what happened, not even probably in the past 24 hours with our nation. We've seen a spike today in our oil and gas. We have to be, the things that, maybe I'm saying this to our shareholders out there, is that we are in preparation for when domestic oil is going to be on the rise. But we sit here today with barriers, and this EIS is a big one. Our regs is a big one. Our American Barium Beetle. But I want our shareholders to know that we're just not showing up twice a month. Behind the scenes, there's so much going on, and we are working diligently. And I mean, it's just like it's all hands on deck. And that's how I feel that we've got a very solid team that, you got an 8-0 vote. Well, not an 8-0 vote. I mean, if we could have voted, it would have been 8-0. I'll put it that way. But, we do have, but we have that now, that we have people that we don't have to go to Tulsa or Dallas or anywhere else to go to get expertise. It is now invested in our own people. And to me, that is powerful.
Amen.
That understands the 1906, that understands exactly what we need. And also, many of them have been producers. So they understand the both sides of oil and gas and have the experience. So with that, Chairman, thank you for allowing me those comments, and I hope that that's something that will be inserted. Thank you.
And I'm sure it will. Thank you. What I was doing is reviewing some of this Federal Register, Department of Interior, Bureau of Indian Affairs. I want everyone to read the new law, especially in Terra, because it actually isolates us in 4 areas that keeps us protected. And we still have to look at it because federal government's going to roll it out. We just need to pick the pieces that we need, put it under our regulatory CFR, and then we will be in a lot better shape. As your statement or comment on that has that effort in it. With that, I want to talk to my congresswoman a minute and deliver her the effort that we think is going to happen, but we will be keeping you informed, Councilman.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a question, two questions. After the comment period, at what point will they roll it out and put it into effect?
You know,
The EIS.
there's no timeline. That's why, it's easy to get frustrated when they have timelines, like with the Terra, they had to have it done by mid-December, because there's less time to talk to them about things when you have concerns. But when they don't have any timelines, they can just sit there like it has for 4 years. 4 years, this EIS, right? And this EIS process was a result of a court case, this Hayes case, where Judge Frizzell, who's also the judge in our Osage Wind case, said that the 1978 EA was insufficient, and it triggered this where we are today. So they don't have deadlines.
Don't have that. Okay, my next question is, when they, in December 18th, when they rolled out the terms of the Terra, it lacked, one of the main things that we wanted to know is what federal functions could we take over and which ones were we not going to be allowed to assume. When do you anticipate that they're going to give us an answer on that?
I'm surprised it's not out now.
Because, we have shareholders wanting, really concerned about what we're doing with Terra. And the ones I've spoken to, I said, well, we don't know what the Terra is yet. So, we haven't done we've not taken any action because we don't even know what they're going to even allow us to consider to take over responsibilities.
Yeah.
So you would have thought they would have had it out by now?
Well, here's what I expect is gonna happen is we've got a brand new rule. It's a final rule, this new Terra rule. Now, depending on what the Minerals Council wants to do, even if it says we want to try this or not, if you propose it and you have a meeting with the Department of Interior, because it has a process where you request a pre-application, you make a pre-application request. And that does not require an extensive amount of information to make that request, you just got to request it.
So they're not actually going to come out and say, these are the things you...
No, they are.
They are.
But that's separate from the regulation. Separate from the regulation, they have indicated to us that the list of inherently federal functions is going to be released, they thought maybe the same time as the Terra rule. Now, even though that Terra final rule is out, I'm a little bit surprised it hasn't been released yet, but I would expect, now that the Terra rule is final, they need to finalize that because all of Indian country needs to know, whether you're interested in solar or wind or minerals.
And we are.
Then you need to know what you can, what functions you can take over. So we should, I expect that anytime now, anytime now. But the pre-application part.
Will that be in the Federal Registry?
I don't know if it's gonna be,
Where will it be?
I would expect it may just get published from the Secretary's office.
And how will we know about it?
Well, I'm sure we'll keep asking them. I'm supposed to be on a call today with John Tasuda from the Secretary's office.
I needed that update real quick for the council on.
All right, well, thank you. You've answered my question.
Also, anything in the Federal Register, anyone could go look at. This is the law in which we're dealing with. There's no misconception here. It says everything. And then the inherent federal function, and I'm glad you brought that up because that is going to be the next step on behalf of the council. What we asked John Tasuda, Secretary of Interior, is not going to be like the other 575 tribes. Folks, we got to realize is that this might be a great opportunity for our nation, that we implement some of these changes because if I'm not right, I'm getting killed over the production. I believe we have an effort here that shows this has hurt us. And we even didn't have a problem like this on some of our other councils. You all were given the gift that we had to keep on fighting on the 14th. And we have never been able to get around it. We have tried a lot of issues. But I'm just gonna tell you is that I cannot cut my nose off to spite my face. We have to look at a terror because I don't want a terror, but I want whatever rights they give to another tribe. Southern Utah's already got the contract signed. So it's a done deal. It's gonna happen. And for us, no one's even mentioned a Tito. If you're gonna beat me up with all of it, not piecemeal it. I'll look at a Tito for my children. I know what I'm looking at. Sometimes, and I love when the oil company guys, you realize what you're looking at. Yeah, you carried all the money off. That's what I know. And we're gonna fix that. And this council's done real good about it. And I'll be honest with you, we hit rough spots, but we also hit good roads. With that being said, can we respond or anything on this Federal Register that we can't show to people or talk about?
I'll be careful to not say anything that I think is a strategic matter. Other than that, I'm glad to explain anything.
I would rather us wait for a little bit because I'm with council until we have the inherent federal function that's going to be designed for the Osage Minerals Estate, then I think we go with that. And I'm a little worried about we're going to be facing this situation. What these folks don't realize is the nail watches everything. They brought up one lady in this room in that court action of what she had spoken. So instead of worrying about this, I ought to worry about what they said, because they're going to use it against us. But that's the other. I would rather us play close to the vest on this. Any other questions we need? Now that John Tasuda, get right with him. Council and I have already discussed a couple items, and you've just brought them up, Councilman Revard. Anything else, Council?
Well, you know, I hate to put off everything. We already know that some of the things we can do is lease and sign business agreements. I've never really understood that. And what was the third thing?
But rights of way, business agreements and leases, but there's a lot within those definitions. There's a lot within those definitions, so.
That could cover
That can be covered by a tariff.
federal, I know, but what I'm saying is that even though we don't have a full list of federally, inherent federal functions, we know what 3 of them are. So why can't we, I mean, we need to have an ironclad lease language.
Yes, ma'am, but that's done by the federal government. We sign off on them, but they actually execute them. That is the rights that this council needs, and we'll have that availability to do. I hate to throw a bunch of things on you, but you just got a resolution that allows me to ask a lot. And the best thing is that you all know our home, you live it. So I'm happy for that. Council.
I think I might hear what she's saying is that we know what those 3 things are, but we haven't sat down at the table and, you know, looked at the pros and cons of how this will work, in what order the strategy of doing it. And I think that's maybe something that we should schedule amongst ourselves with council to go through. Hey, this is, you know, these are some of the things that we should look at, or not. I mean, that's the only way we're gonna do it, is when we, it's like my dad used to say, you know, you can work things out at the kitchen table, but when you walk out that door, you be united. And I think that's where we need to be, is like, let's look at the strategy of this, of how we do this. And I think that would be.
Just as a procedural matter, anytime we can write a letter to the Department of the Interior under this new regulation, asking for the pre-application period to start. They've got 30 days to get back with us. Now, at that pre-application period is just when they have to start getting ready to give us information. Doesn't mean we're bound to a tariff. In fact, there's all kinds of ways that you can, there's off-ramps throughout the regulation that even if you're at the approval point, you can say this is not gonna work for us. So we're pulling it back. So that's the process.
I want to interject something. It's an easy fix. They identified this in each one of the laws that they're rolling out, which identifies as allowing us that, but they haven't put it in print yet. But I think that you and I had already discussed that, is that under this new law, we look at where they reserve the element because of our Title 25 CFR. That's where we start. Council and I have already discussed that, and with the council's agreement, let's just have them work on that. And then the second we see the inherent federal function, then we'll direct more to what you're talking about. But the other item is that the domino effect is taking over the leasing, then you're gonna have to take over the obligations of the bonding, the environment, OST, and getting the money into a PL account, which I'll go ahead and tell you, they don't accept. I've asked this. I've been working on that for over 6 years. And with that being said, we're in a good place. Council, is there anything you'd like to add?
Just, I think there's more to talk about. I would recommend that we talk about some of this in executive session, related to strategic matters. That's kind of precisely the attorney-client privilege.
Thank you.
So that's, I would
With
add.
that being
reserves on
said,
there.
I'd like to take a motion, go in executive.
So moved.
So made in a second. I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Redcorn, seconded by Councilwoman Gray to go in executive session. Call for it. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Harlan.
Yes.
Councilman Redcorn.
Yes.
Councilman Red Eagle.
Yes.
Councilman Rebar.
Yes.
Chairman Waller.
Yes.
Secretary Yates.
Yes.
Councilwoman Foreman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'd like to clear the chambers. I only need you for 2 minutes, and then we'll take a short break in executive.